Hi friends! Welcome to the Overcomers, a movement and a group of people who have overcome and they've got a story. That's what the Overcomers is all about. You sharing your story. Why? Because there is power in your story and people need you. They need your voice. They need your story of hope, faith, and inspiration that where they're at right now is not the end. They need to know if you can overcome, so can they. Today, I'm excited to share with you another story of one such overcomer. So let's go check out who it is. I'm honored to be here today with my friend, Kelly Kennedy. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Jen, it's an honor to be here and to share with you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. A little bit about Kelly for those who have joined us today. Kelly is the wife to an amazing husband. Those are her own words. Kelly is the mother of 3 beautiful daughters, and she's the youngest of 10 kids. She's a former NCAA Division I head basketball coach. She grew up in an abusive home, but she overcame that and has had success in the classroom and on the court. She's had great success as an assistant coach and became the head coach and failed miserably, getting fired after 4 years. Now she is the author of a book called Broken to Bold. But what I'm blown away most by in you, Kelly, is your courage and your authenticity. I'm sure you can relate, if you're listening, to wondering how you can recover from going through hard things, how you can use your own pitfalls to help others rise up. And that's exactly what you're doing, Kelly. Your heart and passion to help others not suffer the pitfalls you did is amazing. And it's inspiring. When most people would hide, you are choosing to be bold because you care about people and you love the Father. That's an amazing amount of trust in the Father to do something like that. So I am so excited for you to share with us today your journey and how you got to this point. Tell us your story, my friend.
So my story, like you said, I grew up in a family, a very competitive family. So that spurred probably the competitiveness that I had as an athlete and always wanting to succeed and in some ways not be what I grew up in. Um, so it was always, okay, I'm not going to be that. So I was driven from the beginning for success and loved sports and loved basketball. And my journey in coaching, so I had success through grade school and through high school and college. And it was a very fruitful journey. People wouldn't know what I went through. And I just actually shared my book with a teacher, my English teacher from high school. And one of the things I talk about in the book is that as a teacher, you're sitting there and teaching and you don't know, like people didn't know what I was going through. So, and she was like, you're right. I had no idea what you were going through. So I was in college and I started out pre-med and I wanted to help people. I mean, that was my goal, to be a doctor. And I remember my sophomore year, I was getting my butt kicked in organic chemistry. And in the classes, they're so competitive in the classroom as well. And I'm like, on the court, yeah, I'm competitive. In the classroom, no, can you help me here? So I sat there and I said, what am I passionate about? What do I want to do? So my sophomore year of college, I played at a Division III school. So if you know, that's a lower level of college. And I wrote it down. I said, I'm going to be a Division I head basketball coach. So I set out to reach that goal and did everything I could, networking, meeting people. I never had a problem talking with people and set the stage for that. And so each job I had, led to the next one. I never applied for a position other than at the University of Oregon, their grad assistant position. And just a fun story that the head coach, she was pretty tough, but I wanted that job. So I found out where she was going to be that summer in recruiting, and I sat in the gym and went to the gym where I thought she'd be and waited for her. And when I found her, I just went up to her. I said, "Hi, Coach Runge. My name is Kelly Keeby, and I'm going to be your graduate assistant." And she was like, "Oh." I was like, "Nice to meet you." You know, so you know, I was a planner. I had everything, control, structure, everything, and that was just part of my personality. So go through my coaching career, and I get to the point where you know, I coached at Oregon, then I went to TCU where we were in a building program, and we did well and had fun helping that program grow. And then I went to Iowa State, which at that point was top 15 in the country. And so I'm at a high profile program. And of course the pressure is greater. And here's kind of where things started. The words that were spoken that I chose to receive by someone was that I'm not good enough for that position. So at that point, you know, as an assistant, like whatever, I'm doing my thing, and there's pressure. You got to recruit, you got to bring in the players to help maintain that program. So we had good success at Iowa State, and you know, Big 12 championships. So I experienced great things. But I distinctly remember when I was there being like, we win the Big 12 championship, we go back to the hotel, everyone's cheering, and I remember standing there just looking at it going, what's it all for? And I just had that feeling, and because, you know, you win, and then the next thing is, okay, next we got the NCAA tournament, next, and you're always striving. So I remember that feeling. And then, you know, but my goal, you know, I loved coaching, I love the experience. So my goal was to be a Division I head coach. So, all right, you're in a high profile program, University of Akron calls, and you know, I interviewed for that job and was hired at the University of Akron to be the head coach. So I take on that position. It was the worst program in the country. You know, some people were like, "You're a fool for taking that job." And I'm like, "Oh, I could do this. I'm invincible." You know, I learned a lot of great things. It's like, you know, I was prepared for this. So in 2002, I become the head coach at the University of Akron in April. In May, I was getting married to Todd, who I met in Iowa. And then we, you know, we bought a house in a day. Like, these are just things you do, you know, you just do it, and you make things happen. And so for me, I was always thinking, well, things just happen. They fall into place. And then things didn't go so well. So, you know, I'm there for a couple years. I have my daughter Molly in 2004. So that's 2 years in to the season, starting our third season at Akron. Molly's born actually, oh my gosh, the day before our season opener. So here's me having this baby, which I thought I was in control of the date she was going to be born, which it wasn't. You can read more details, but anyway, so we're in the hospital, and our opening game is on the radio, and we can't get it in the hospital. So it's like 35 hours after I give birth. I'm like, Todd, we got to leave. We got to go home. I got to listen to this game. It's like, but this gives you the idea of where I was at. And we're driving home, and the university, the exit to the university was on our way home, and I'm like, and Todd's like, don't even think of it. I'm like, but he's like, don't even think about it. So we go home and listen to the game, you know, but that's how consumed I was. I was a basketball coach, and that's who I was. That was what I did, but that was who I was. That was my identity. So fast forward to 2006, things didn't, 2006, things didn't go well. I had a year left on my contract and I got let go. I got, called into the AD's office, and I thought I was going for a, okay, I know things weren't great, but had no idea that I was going to, resign or be fired. Like, that doesn't sound like a good choice. So anyway, okay, so I get let go and I'm totally destroyed. I mean, that was my identity, ripped me apart, and really my passion was basketball and what I did. So we had one daughter at the time, so it was kind of a break. I had a year off because I was getting paid for a year and couldn't coach. So, Todd and I, it's like, okay, it's a chance for him now to go back being full-time, and now he's the full breadwinner and I'll be home with the kids. We ended up having 2 more daughters, which is such an amazing blessing. So the time off was nice because I got to experience life outside of that world that I knew. I would never gotten out of that world had I not been forced out. Wow. So in that respect, I get forced out in this turmoil in the last year that I was coaching. I remember driving home being in tears, and just my staff was a mess. Everything was a mess. I felt the wheels were off, and I'm driving home and Molly's in the back seat, and I'm just bawling. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like I hit rock bottom in that regard. And Jesus Takes the Wheel, Carrie Underwood, Jesus Takes the Wheel comes on the radio. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know what to do. Help, white flag. And then it was a month later that I got fired. So okay, so that's a big part of the story. So anyway, so fast forward now, I have my year off, and now I'm okay. How do for me, my worth was in making money and being successful, right? As society sees success. So I started businesses. I did a recruiting business. I did a health and wellness business. I started an insurance business. I knew nothing about insurance. So it was like, I could do whatever, I'll just start business. Like I could do anything, right? Was always my mindset, but it was getting away from basketball because basketball was had a negative thing in my heart. It's like, well, if I got fired, I must not, that's not what I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to coach. So I'm in this business now, and a friend of mine, this is 2014, and I'm still reeling. I'm still bitter and embarrassed about that, getting fired from a high profile position, and thinking, that what do people think? And so started, a health and wellness business, where a friend of mine in 2014 says, if you grow, you need to grow. You need to learn to work with people so you can make more money. I'm like for me, I'm like, whatever, I'm good with people. Like I recruited, I'm thinking, but she said, I can make more money. So I'm in. So Todd and I convince him to go to this seminar, and it's called First Steps to Success. And we're sitting there in this seminar, and this lady, Danny Johnson, whoever she is, right? She says, how do you answer to your boss? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, I'm an entrepreneur. There's 1,000 people in the room, and I'm, pretty cocky and whatever. I'm like, what if you don't have a boss? And honest to goodness, there had to be other people that said it, but she turns around and says, that's your number one problem. And she points to the sky. And I was like, what? Oh my gosh. So I've been doing all this on my own, like I'm all that kind of deal. So in that 2014, brought me to my knees, and I started to really dig into, what does this mean? And I remember Danny, and then I ended up going to her next seminar, and I remember her saying, there's more. And that whole time, though, I was still in the mindset of the more was, well, this is about making more money. This is a business seminar. That's what the more is. So I'm going through this whole thing thinking, all right, she's telling me how I should be making more money. Like I should be doing these things and making more money. But on the other side of it, I had the spiritual thing that I started to, I started to get into the Bible, and I started to read more and learn more and start to develop that relationship. So in the course of all these, well, you've been there, right? I would go back to these seminars and thinking still about that more is got to be about business, but she always comes back to that relationship with the Father. And I'm like, okay, I'm digging and digging and digging, and finally just realizing my life started to change. My heart started to soften. My kids, I started to apply all these things that she was talking about, business, to my family and to my relationship with my husband. And looking back, then I started to look back at my life and coaching and all the things that were missing that I wasn't doing. And as I looked back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got fired. I got fired, and I deserved to be fired. So having that and being able to admit that, and now retrospectively look back, I spent then my time healing. I told you when I started to lose games and not have that success on the court, which is what we do when we coach. The wins on the win column is what people look at, and that's how you're judged. And those didn't happen. I started to believe those words, you're not good enough. You're not good enough for this level. And as you start all those doubts, and then you start thinking about, and then it takes me back to my childhood. My dad was abusive and deserted us, and you're not good enough. Like, obviously you're not good enough because, so your mind starts playing some nasty, nasty tricks on you, and you start to believe that stuff. And then what happens, it comes reality, right? So in all that retrospective looking, there was a lot of healing, a lot of things I needed to forgive. I needed to forgive myself. I needed to forgive others. I needed them to forgive me. So there's just so much that went into that process. And then I think the icing on the cake, Jen, was when, as I'm developing this relationship with our Heavenly Father and learning more and more, I made that commitment, that choice to go to Israel. And Danny called it the father-daughter trip, and I remember going, because prior to going, like the week before, I'm going, who am I? Like, why am I going? Who am I to go? First of all, I was raised Catholic. Just learning all these things. I was taught all these things growing up, and, there's Jews, and then there's Catholics, and it's like, why am I going to Israel?
And finally I'm like, well, I don't know. I guess, God's calling me to go. So, all right, this is gonna be an amazing trip. Cool. So I had no idea what to expect, and I just wanted to learn more. And there's, I'll get emotional now because, so the biggest thing on that trip that I learned was how much he loved me and knew me, because I love the water. I love being by the water. We have a pond in our backyard, and I told my husband, it's like, this is our lake house until we could buy one. But we built a deck this summer because I'm like, that's my happy place. So I know that's my love, and that is where I get my peace. So we go on the Sea of Galilee, and as soon as we stepped on the boat, I just felt this flood of just, I just felt the Holy Spirit. I just felt the hug, the big, like, you're my daughter and I love you. I know you and I love you. And all I can think about was that he knows me, because that's exactly where he revealed to me who he was in the place that was my happy place, that I love and I enjoy and I connect. So it's just been amazing. And then on that journey, so now it's like, okay, I have this relationship with God and how it's affected my life. And being a coach, I mean, it's in my blood. And the thing that was also confirmed to me was that he designed me to coach. He designed my desire for basketball from when I was in my mother's womb, that was a part of who I am. I mean, that's he designed me that way. So now basketball became like, now I could love it again and have that, like, where it's fun and I feel like it's a gift. That's my gift, to give to kids and to give to coaches and to give to people. My daughter loves basketball and wants to play, and I'm finally working with her on her shooting, and she wants me to, and she's going to be a knockdown. She's going to be incredible, so it's kind of like really, really cool, like coming full circle into, that's what he designed me to be. He loves me. And what my passion is, because he planted it in me. He put that desire in my heart, and now I get to use that and share that gift with others. So in that, then, and you inspired me, and I've had several people, when I share my story, a little bit of my testimony of coming full circle with my Father, my Creator, they'd say, you should write a book. And this has been going on for a couple of years, and I'm like, who would want to read my story? What would my story be? And all this. And it's like, why? And then you publish your book, or you were writing your book, and I was blessed to be a pre-reader and work with you on that, or just kind of read through in your initial stages, and that just inspired me. I'm like, Jen wrote this in, like, I think you wrote it in like 3 months or something, and I'm like, wow, that's really, really awesome. That's really cool. Maybe I should write a book. So then January 1st, 2020, I was looking back in my journal notes, and but I remember January 1st praying, because he was kind of saying, yes, you should write a book. And I'm like, I don't know how to write a book. I don't know what to do. You need to guide me. So January 1st, you get these New Year's, I'm going to start something. And I sat there in prayer, and I said, okay, my Father, when do you want me to start? And he said, now. I'm like, Okay. So honest to goodness, January 1st, I just got my iPad out and I didn't know what I was writing, but I'd find myself every day in my prayer time listening to what's the message today? Like, what am I sharing today? Because honestly, I had, you learn things, you go through life, but what's going to help someone? So what's that message that day? And I would just start typing away, and then when my thoughts are like, okay, I'm done for the day. I don't know. So the whole idea, and it's very vulnerable. I mean, I put myself out there, and I was telling a friend the other day, and I said, and he's a coach, so we were talking, and he had gotten fired, so we were talking about what we went through, and he's like, oh my gosh, I went through exactly what you went through, and the pain and blah blah blah. So anyway, I was talking to him, and then I said, yeah, I released the book, and then I was like, what did I do? Like, I put myself out, like, it's vulnerable, I put myself out there and going, oh, no take backs. Can't take it back, but it's for someone, it's for healing for someone. It's for whatever nuggets, there's a lot of nuggets for coaches, and I say everyone's a coach. You're a parent, you're a CEO, you manage anybody, right? You're in a relationship, you're in a family, you're a coach. And but it's also, we all are broken in some way. So how do you get through that? Like, how do you identify that? Where do you go with this pain, with this doubt, with this, all that society and the external things throw at you, and then your mind does to you? What do you do? Where do you go? So all the things that I learned, I mean, my heart is in it. It's in that book. And my vulnerability to say, hey, hopefully through my story, you get something from it. So
absolutely. Kelly, I just have to say, like, hearing you tell your story, that was one of the most beautiful and elegant ways I've ever heard someone share their story. That was so powerful. And what I loved about it most is that you were able to discern what happened to you and what you were experiencing as you looked back. You could see what he was doing later because you were willing to go back and say, hey, what was happening to me at these moments in my life? Going all the way back to the moment where you were, like you said, you were at rock bottom and you were at a place where you just started crying, and you looked to the heavens and you said, help. And in that moment, from that point forward, you could see him giving you that help. No, it might not have looked like what you thought it would have or should have looked like before that. But at that moment, when you cried out to him, was when he started doing incredible things in your life and in your story. And he started showing you what he was doing as you looked back past that. So good, my friend. And what he was doing was shifting your heart.
Yeah.
He was shifting your heart back further to him, into relationship with him. It was so good, my friend. So I know there's a lot of people listening today that can relate to some of the things that Kelly shared, especially to that moment where you feel like you're at rock bottom and you need help. So Kelly, as you think about sharing your story today and your journey, if you could tell somebody who's listening right now, who's maybe struggling with some of the stuff that you have gone through, what one piece of advice would you give that listener today?
He's not done with you. You're in this place, you're in this time for a purpose. Like, your pain and your suffering, does he want it? No. I mean, he doesn't want us to suffer. He loves us as a mother loves her child. That the last thing you want is for your child to go through pain, but it's necessary in life. It happens. So your pain is for a purpose. So if you don't have that relationship, then I guess I would say just open your heart, and he will give you a heart of flesh. I think it's Ezekiel. He'll take your heart of stone and make it a heart of flesh, and just help you. He wants you to walk in peace, and he will walk you through it, but you have to open that door. And I'd say get on your knees and just open your heart. That's number one. And will there be tears? Guarantee it. Will it be easy? No. But think of it as when you go through rehab. I went through shoulder rehab. Oh, it was horrible. But on the other end of it, the healing, and now, you got to go through the pain to get to the other side of healing and strength. So give your heart to him.
So good, my friend. So how can we partner with you? I know there's people listening today that have loved hearing your story. They've been encouraged. They might be interested in buying your book. So how can we come alongside you, and as you continue to impact people and want to help people on their journey, how can we come beside you?
So my heart is to help others through what they're going through. Obviously I have experience with coaching. So if you know coaches, share with them. I have a website, coachkellykennedy.com, that people can reach out to me, that, if someone's honestly, we all have kids playing sports. We know coaches, we know coaches that are good, and we know coaches that are not so good. I'd say give them a copy of my book, because it's not you speaking to them, but it's, hey, coach, you don't like how they talk to your players, or they don't. Give them a copy of the book. It's a soft way to say, I think you need to look at some things. So I encourage that. But also I'm here, go come through my website and contact me. I'm on a website with coaches right now, and I'm like, hey, I'm here to help you. Just reach out. And if I can help, and parents that are going through stuff with their kids and sports, and that's probably my expertise and my passion. So more so I'm there to help walk through with you.
So awesome. Well, we've actually got a copy today of Broken to Bold. So if you're watching with us and tuning in, and you would like a free copy of Broken to Bold, we've got one free one. So whoever is the first person to comment on this video, we're going to get it into your hands. So like Kelly said, if you want to hear about the experiences that Kelly overcame to get to the point that she can help you to rise up, grab a copy of Broken to Bold. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on our website. You can find it on our website. Whether you are a parent, an athlete, a coach, a CEO, you are a leader. This book is riveting. And it's a story of redemption and hope that will challenge you to rise up. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for your courage. I know without a shadow of a doubt that there were people listening today that were impacted. And you talk about the fear of sharing your story and being vulnerable. Well, I know that there were people listening today that are going to be impacted by what you shared and needed to hear this message. And I have a feeling they're going to be reaching out to you. So thank you. Thank you for your love for your family. Thank you for your love for your husband and your daughters. Thank you for your love of the game, and for leaders and for coaches and for people who believe in helping one another. You are a leader, friend. And I am so honored to call you a friend. So I'm just so thankful you were willing to join us today. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for sharing your story. I'm proud of you for being so courageous and for rising up and being all that the Father has called you to be. It's going to be an exciting year ahead.
Thank you, Jen. And it's fun to walk through this journey with you, and you're an inspiration. And I value your friendship and love your heart. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your heart and giving this opportunity for us to help others as well. It's really an honor. So thank you. God is good. He's so good. That's all.
Yes, so good. All right, thank you, friends.
Wow, wasn't that powerful? Do you have an overcomer story? Do you know someone who needs to hear this message? Please share this video on your social platforms and tag us so we know who you are. Stay tuned as we share more overcomer stories in the weeks ahead. We're looking for you. We're looking for the overcomers. Join us. Let's come together as the overcomers. Start sharing your story. We have multiple ways you can start getting involved and repping the movement, repping your story of what He has done in your life. For example, we've got journals. You can start writing your story down. Start getting it out of your head and on paper. We've got bracelets. Start repping that we're a group that are coming together to inspire people. We've got t-shirts and sweatshirts to not only remind yourself that you're filled with gold, but everybody around you, that your story is powerful. And don't forget, you can pick up a copy of Finding His Voice on Amazon, An Overcomer's Journey from Suicide to Success, an overcomer's journey which launched this very movement. And last but not least, if you want to learn how to overcome, visit www.dannyjohnson.com. That's my coach, and that's where I learned how to overcome. Thank you so much for joining with us today. We believe in you, and we believe in the power of story. We believe in your story.